Welcome to the 5 essential methods to master Illustrator. We're going to jump right into this. I have a lot to go over and I only have 15 minutes. If you've ever thought Illustrator was frustrating, it's because there's 86 tools as it stands right now, and it's only going to get more added to it, but you don't need all those tools to do a lot of the work in Illustrator. So I'm going to go over what I consider are 5 essential, not the only ones, but the 5 that I go to quite often. The first one has nothing to do with Illustrator. You should all be drawing because drawing improves design. And what do I mean by that? Well, Saul Bass said that design is thinking made visual. What's the best way to get that thought out of your head? It's to draw it on paper. You could use a tablet as well, but anybody can draw. I'm not talking fine art. I'm talking thumbnail sketches like these, and you're going to see why I'm saying that shortly. So let's move to the first method, point by point. Point by point is what most people think of when they think of vector artwork. They think of selecting the pen tool and going to your drawing, or maybe you're just doing it out of your head, which is why you should draw. It's a roadmap for building. But here's a simple trick. Wherever your drawing or shape that you want to build comes to a point, gets a point. That's easy. You need to find on this path where to place the next anchor point to do this curve. So this would go on the apex of this rounded area. This is why drawing will assist you. And then where it comes to a point, gets a point, and where it comes to a point, gets a point. So this is a rough build. It's from this point, you'd have to select the tool, like the anchor point tool here, and this is where you can grab a path. And because both of these corners are corner anchor points, there's only 2 types, corner and smooth. If you use the anchor point tool to now bend this, notice it's going to move that. So just be aware of that. That can cause issues and it can break this anchor point at times. So frankly, I don't use that function, this tool specifically. I use a plugin called PathScribe. It actually existed a lot longer before this tool, but notice it puts these white dots. You can just grab that and you can just bend. It just makes the process easier. And then it works the same way in terms of finessing the shape. So those are the tricky parts, but having a plugin to help you and utilizing, in this case, the anchor point tool is going to help you. Now, everything else is much like the top of the head here. And there's a great plugin called Subscribe by Astute Graphics, and it's this Arch by Points tool. And it works great because you can just go click once, click where you want the next anchor to go, and then drag your cursor to form the curve. Click once, click the final location, drag your anchor, click once, again, click, and then drag to get that curve worked out, and so on. And you can curve it any way you want. But see how fast that goes, and you don't have to mess with the Bezier handles. This is why plugins exist. So the math is available in Illustrator because it works, but it's not native to Illustrator. So if you want to check those out, I'll give you the link later. But when it's all said and done, this is all the final vector art, a lot of shape building in the glass. We're going to go over and how the final design ended up looking. So let's jump into shape building. Most of what you're going to create in Illustrator will be a combination of shape building and free form building, like I just showed you with the pen tool. But it doesn't have to be hard at all. We're going to go to the rounding. This is called dynamic corners. Now, what I'm going to show you, I'm using a plugin to do it. It actually existed about 6 years before Illustrator kind of ripped it off and put it in theirs. I don't use Illustrator's corner widget because it gets in the way of vector building, in my opinion. But everything I'm going to show you, you'll be able to do in a general sense, such as rounding. We're going to round this front shape, and we'll put it right about there. I'm going to select this. I'm going to clone it, Command-C, Command-F. I have it attached to an F3 key. Then we'll bring this down. And I do this at times to use one shape to edit another shape. This is on top. We'll go to Pathfinder. We'll go minus front, that gives us that. We'll select these two shapes and we'll unite them with Pathfinder. I'll go back to the rounding, round off the top here. And you might be able to guess what we're creating at this point. But rounding, along with shape building, really does speed up the creative process. So we're going to take this shape here. And one thing I should point out is when I'm using this corner widget, I can click on this to copy that round. And then I can just go over to the next shape, round it, and go over to the next shape and round it. So it speeds up. I don't have to select any anchor points. We'll select all these shapes and we'll unite them now. As I go along, I take anchor points that we don't need and I just delete those. If they're 90-degree ones, that's safe. I'm going to show you something soon. They'll explain why I said that. We'll pull that anchor out. I'll go back, select this curve, just select it, it copies it. I can apply it to there. We'll go grab another shape. In this case, it'll be the star. This will make up the eye. And you can position this however you want. So you can tell how quickly building a complex shape from simpler shapes is a great way. It's how you think when you design. So look at something, analyze it, and think in shapes, and that's going to give you a good idea of how to approach it. For example, the wings on the back here just started as rectangles, so easy shapes. We're going to jump to the Pathfinder. Even though I've shown you in general how it works, I want to go over it more specifically because I pretty much only use the 3 top left buttons. All the other ones, you can experiment with them. I just don't find them super useful, but the ones I pointed out, I do. So in this case, we're going to take all the elements of this funky tree, unite it, and we'll color this green and get rid of the outline. And so that's how you use that Pathfinder method. This one, the tree shape on top of the circle, we'll punch it through. And you can see it creates almost a logo type element. So that's great for that type of usage. The next one, intersect. We want to intersect with the background, but first we're going to have to make a copy of the background, Command-C, Command-F, select the tree element and intersect. And all that does is create, we don't want an outline. All that does is it creates a new shape based off of where they overlap only. So these methods can speed up the process of building and make it easier. Now, Pathfinder has been brought into a new tool called the shape building tool. Think of this as you need all the ingredients before you can use it. That's how it works best, in my opinion. In this case, we're going to be a little unintuitive, fill this with black and get rid of the stroke. We'll go to the shape building tool. And as you hover over, the plus means you're going to add to the shape. You hold Option, it subtracts from the shape. Right now, we're just going to drag over everything we want to combine like this. We'll go down into the body like that. We'll go over here, add those. We'll add these 2 shapes to the body. We'll add these. Add the top of the tail, bottom of the tail, right wing, left wing. Now we're going to go up here and add the eyes to the brow and then hold Option down. We're going to minus out the eye, the beak, the other eye. We'll do the feathers and then the feet or toes. And then we'll drag select to get rid of this wedge and that wedge. And that's how fast it goes using that tool. This would have taken a lot longer if you tried to use the regular Pathfinder window. So for this type of building, it's ideal. There's another one I'm going to show you too. Ultimately, the final design on this looked like this, and then adding in these subtle rounds really buttons up the design when it's all said and done. So strokes. Strokes are a great way to build art. So here's that original rough sketch I showed you at the beginning. We created all the base art. These are just strokes. So let's go and zoom in on this, and I'll show you how I use the shape building tool to do simple stroke editing. I'm going to hold Option down, and I'm just going to go over the areas I don't want to show. Now, when you had to do this before, you had to use the scissor tool, zoom in, cut wherever it overlapped the other path, And that wasn't always super precise. And then you'd have to go to each iteration and cut it. And that just takes a long time. And this process takes literally seconds. Once you have everything done, you can go to strokes, figure out the weight of the line you want to use on the final art. In this case, I think that's going to work. Now, obviously, we'd have to expand it. And when we do, we would end up with art looking like this. All the shapes on top are white islands floating on a sea of a black filled shape. We're going to turn on a photo, and now we're going to use the eyedropper tool, and we're going to go ahead and color these. We'll select the shape we want, and we're going to color it by using reference photos. So we're going to color this light green. That's a little orange. That's better. And then we'll go over here and select a darker green like this. We'll go down here. Maybe this is going to be a nice teal kind of color from the water. We'll select this. Maybe this is a sandy color down here. Let's go over and get a little more warmth. That looks better. And then on this one, we'll sample the sky to get a nice blue. Now, black's a little stark, so let's select that and give it more of an earth tone of the brown. Maybe a little lighter like that. And I think that looks cool. A lot of people don't realize you can do this. I do this all the time. It's fun. Now, when I color, a lot of times I also will just create these boxes. I call them tonal families. And it's just a vector box, and I fill it with one of the colors in the swatches palette because it's hard to make tonal value decisions based off of a small swatch in this palette, and mainly because they put white in between them so they don't fuse together or visually fuse together. But that's what I want to see. I want to see how well colors contrast. So this is how I address it, and then I literally just select whatever I want to color, and then I can color it whatever color I want. I wouldn't do purple. We'd keep it like that. But good habit to get into. So hopefully they'll bring that to Illustrator at some point. And the last thing I want to show you is graphic styles. Graphic styles speed up the creative process. Let's go and zoom in a little. We're going to use the appearance panel. The appearance panel is like layers on steroids. It has magical abilities. So right now you can see it says fill. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and select a fill stroke color of white, but we want the stroke width to be 6, and that looks good. But here's what you can do with the appearance panel. You can put multiple attributes on one shape. So we're going to go to the option menu, and we're going to go add new stroke. And that's going to default to the same color. So we'll go to the one underneath, because we want to bump this up to 12, but obviously we don't want it white. We'll select the branded gray we have in the mascot, and you can see what that looks like. Now, with the shape still selected, we're going to go to Effects, we're going to go to Style, and we want to put a drop shadow on this. And that looks really good. That gives us the dimensional value I wanted. Let's go ahead and zoom out. We're going to go down to Graphic Styles. I'm going to drag the shape now into Graphic Styles. You could name it whatever you want, but now it allows you to select any shape and apply all those attributes on it. So if we apply it to this one, you can see what that looks like. That looks awesome. It's a really good way to retain continuity. So let's say you're developing a set of icons. You could even share this via Creative Cloud Libraries and share this graphic style, that is, and then apply it so they all have the exact same continuity moving forward. Now, this is just a finite amount of methods you can use in Illustrator. There's a lot more I could show you, but if you want to get more information about improving your vector skills, you can download the source file that I just went through here. It has a few extra things in it. Check out my site. My Vector Basic Training book is available there. Comes with 7 hours of HD video and 4 gigabytes of resource files, so you can deconstruct the artwork shown in the book. Connect with me on social media, and if you want to check out those plugins, you have a 14-day free period. Just visit astutegraphics.com. Any other questions, send them to my email listed below. Thank you for watching, and enjoy the rest of the conference.